Your mind is not your enemy, but it is not your guide either. It is not here to make you fulfilled. It is not designed to make you brave. It is not built to help you become who you know you could be. Your brain has one sacred duty: keep you alive. And survival is very different from living. So when you try to change, when you try to grow, when you try to do something meaningful, uncomfortable, or new, your own mind pushes back. Not because you're weak, not because you're broken, but because your nervous system learned long ago that safety matters more than truth. That staying small feels safer than risking pain. That silence feels safer than being seen. That comfort feels safer than transformation. And so a quiet war begins. A war between the self you are and the self you sense you could become. But today, we're not declaring war on your mind. We're ending the confusion. Because once you understand why your brain resists growth, you stop hating yourself for procrastinating, freezing, or doubting. And when you stop hating yourself, real change finally becomes possible. If this speaks to something deep inside you, take a breath and stay with me. This is not about forcing yourself. This is about reclaiming your inner authority. Number one, your brain was built for survival, not fulfillment. Your brain does not care about your dreams. Not because your dreams don't matter, but because dreams are unknown territory. An unknown territory once meant danger. From an evolutionary perspective, the brain's job is simple: predict, protect, and preserve. It asks questions like, will this cost energy? Will this bring rejection? Will this create uncertainty? Will this expose me to pain? If the answer is yes, your brain activates resistance. That resistance sounds like, not today. You're tired. It's not the right time. You'll fail anyway. Just rest. You deserve it. Carl Jung once described this as the ego's attachment to familiarity. Even if familiarity is painful, it feels safer than change. This is why people stay in unfulfilling routines, stagnant relationships, unlived potential, emotional numbness, because the known pain feels safer than the unknown possibility. And the longer you obey this protective voice, the more your identity begins to shrink around it. Not because you lack discipline, but because your nervous system learned that stillness equals safety. This is not laziness. This is conditioning. And recognizing that is the first act of self-respect. If this feels like it's putting language to something you've always felt but couldn't explain, stay connected with this channel by subscribing to the Mind Kit. You're not alone in this process. Number two, why comfort keeps you stuck. Comfort is not evil, but unchecked comfort becomes a cage. The brain loves efficiency. It wants the shortest path with the least resistance, scrolling instead of creating, avoiding instead of speaking, waiting instead of beginning. But here's the psychological truth most people never hear. What feels comfortable is often what once kept you safe, not what will help you grow now. For many people, comfort was survival. Staying quiet avoided conflict. Lowering expectations avoided disappointment. Being agreeable avoided abandonment. Avoiding effort avoided shame. So the nervous system learned, don't risk, don't try, don't stand out, and the body obeyed. Jung called this the shadow, the parts of you that hold suppressed energy, power, anger, confidence, and desire, because expressing them once felt dangerous. Growth requires you to gently challenge this pattern, not with punishment, but with awareness. The moment you see that your resistance is protective, you stop fighting yourself. And when you stop fighting yourself, you gain leverage. Number three, redefining pain from enemy to initiation. Most people think pain is something to avoid, but psychologically, pain is not the enemy. Meaningless pain is what traumatizes us. Purposeful pain is what transforms us. There is a profound difference between pain that happens to you pain you choose in service of growth. One creates helplessness. The other creates strength. When your mind says, "I don't feel like it," that is not a stop sign. That is a signal. You are standing at the edge of expansion. Growth always feels unfamiliar at first, and unfamiliarity activates fear. So instead of asking, "How do I get rid of discomfort?" ask, "How do I relate to it differently?" You don't need to love pain. You need to interpret it correctly. Discomfort is not danger. Resistance is not failure. Fear is not a verdict. They are thresholds, and every threshold crossed rewires self-trust. Number 4, the 3-second window, where change is decided. Hesitation is where growth dies quietly. Neuroscience shows us that the moment you hesitate, your brain starts building arguments for inaction. It pulls memories. It predicts outcomes. It amplifies fear. That's why the most powerful moment is the first impulse. Before the mind constructs resistance, you have a small window, about 3 seconds, before conditioning takes over. This is not about force. It's about interrupting the loop. When you feel the impulse to stand up, begin, speak, you move before the story forms. Move. No debate. No justification. Action precedes motivation, not the other way around. Over time, this builds a new internal relationship. I act even when I'm unsure. I can trust myself to move. I don't need certainty to begin. That is emotional maturity. Number 5, daily discomfort as nervous system training. Transformation doesn't come from massive overhauls. It comes from consistent, manageable discomfort. One small act each day that says, "I can tolerate intensity. I can meet resistance. I can stay present." This might look like finishing something you want to avoid, sitting with an uncomfortable emotion, choosing focus over distraction, speaking honestly instead of pleasing, moving your body when you want to withdraw. These are not punishments. They are signals to the nervous system. Each time you do something difficult and survive it, your body learns, "This is safe. I am capable. I don't collapse under pressure." And slowly, your internal threshold expands, not because you became harsher, but because you became steadier. Number 6, identity, the deepest rewiring. Most people try to change behavior, but lasting change happens at the level of identity. You don't wait to feel disciplined. You decide who you are becoming, not with affirmations, but with evidence. Every time you act despite resistance, you cast a vote for a new self-image. I am someone who shows up. I am someone who tolerates discomfort. I am someone who doesn't abandon myself. This is how identity forms, not through motivation, but through repetition. Jung believed that becoming whole meant integrating all parts of yourself, including fear, doubt, and resistance, without letting them rule you. You don't kill the old self. You outgrow it. And one day you realize the voice that once controlled you has become quieter, not because it disappeared, but because you stopped obeying it automatically. If this kind of grounded psychological insight supports you, subscribing to the Mind Kit helps this space grow. It keeps these conversations going. Number 7, the quiet death of the old pattern. There is no dramatic ending, no explosion, no moment where fear vanishes forever. There is simply a quiet shift. You pause and choose differently, again and again and again. And one day you notice, you trust yourself more. You hesitate less. You feel stronger, not louder, not harder, but steadier. That is real power. The version of you that stayed silent to survive, that avoided to stay safe, that waited to feel ready. It didn't fail. It protected you when you needed it. But you don't need it in the same way anymore. And you are allowed to move forward. Finally, you are not broken. Your mind was doing its job. But now, you get to choose differently. And that choice, made gently, consistently, consciously, changes everything.